Here you go, Facebook. Look at this. Look what I got today. I have more men in my apartment. Woo! Yeah, I don't need to go anywhere. I got them all coming to me here. Drew Yerkish.
Hey.
Hi, Drew.
Hi, Linda. How are you?
Fine, doing fine. You're so handsome there, sitting there in my room. What you got to say to people? What do you want them to know about this pandemic and from a comedian's point of view or whatever?
You know, they've made such a hype about essential employees, and they always say laughter is the best medicine. If that's the case, Craig Shoemaker's the best. Why aren't comedians essential employees? We should be.
Thank you. That's what I say.
I fully agree with him.
It's crazy. You know how many...
It is.
Especially with suffering around the world, and we're bombarded everywhere we go with it. Comedy, we need levity.
Yeah, we definitely do.
Yeah. So I ordered a rolling microphone at Walmart for $69, and I'm literally going to go down the street with it and see if people come to their doors to hear comedy. Screw this. People need comedy.
Yeah, really. Yeah. I think there's a lot more to this thing than they're letting on. I really do.
I agree. It has to be. Just has to be.
Yeah, I was already very mistrustful and cynical towards the government before this, so this just adds to it.
We think for ourselves. We don't need other people telling us nothing.
I'm not trying to downplay the severity of what this virus might be able to do, but I just think that there's something seriously is not stirring the Kool-Aid here.
That's right.
They're adding numbers to the number of people that have passed away from this that are presumed to have had this without confirmation.
Wow.
If you confirm it, how can you claim it? So I just don't get that at all.
Well, what do you have to say to people how they can just get by right now? I've had other comics answer it with their take, but if you could talk to the whole world at once, what would you tell people?
I would say take this seriously, but don't let it control your everyday life. If you want to get out and about and go for a walk, take the dog out, go do it. Try and keep your distance as much as possible to minimize any chance you're going to get of catching this thing, but don't be a prisoner in your own house. That's one of the worst things you could ever be, I think. I
agree. Those are...
In your own house.
Everybody's sending up hearts. They think this is awesome. Comedian Miss Arkansas from Vegas says that she's your buddy and she wants to interview you too.
Anytime, Cynthia, I would love it.
Awesome.
I miss her.
So I looked on your bio and it says that you have or you've survived or thrived after atelophobia. Is that a joke or real?
No, that's real.
So you have a fear of never doing good enough or achieving high enough?
Yes. It seemed like growing up, nothing I ever did was good enough for my dad. And it's actually carried over into some relationships I've had over the years. So it makes it difficult.
It does. I know that I could never please my mother. So I had a child, I was married and had a child. And I set out to please her, and it backfired. So right now we're taking time apart for the last 6 years.
Oh, wow.
That's the day I started comedy, Drew. You lucky dog.
I entered this would have been my 10th year doing it.
Wow. What city are you from? Are you from Cleveland?
I'm originally from Cleveland, yes. I was raised in California, and I just moved back here to Cleveland last July.
Nice. What's going on in Cleveland?
It's too crazy, too expensive.
Yeah. Ugh.
I'm sorry?
I agree. What is the best secret in Cleveland?
Honestly, I think it's the citizens here. Everybody is super calm, super nice to each other. It's something I definitely was not accustomed to in California for the most part. I mean, yeah, there are parts here and there everywhere, but here, pound for pound, I mean, I can go down to the Walmart and leave my truck unlocked while I shop, and it'll still be there when I get back.
Oh my!
Too many places in Southern California, I could not make that claim.
No, Not at all.
Unlocked, that truck's gone.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't miss it. And plus, the cost of living here is almost half what it was in California.
What's the median price of a starter home or like a small home?
Well, the electrician I had come out and give me a quote on something a few weeks back said he just bought his first house. It was just a small 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, about 1,000 square feet, and I think he said he paid $109 for it.
What?
Yep.
Oh my goodness! Are there?
But in the area he bought, the yard that he's got is a lot comparable to what Californians get for paying 3 to 5 times that.
Wow.
The house I've got here, where I was living in Anaheim before I moved, it was 1,850 square feet, 2-story house. Rent was $2,700. Ridiculous.
Crazy.
It's the same size house plus a basement and a half acre of land for almost $1,100 a month less for the mortgage.
Wow. Yeah. Holy Toledo. What's the comedy scene like in Cleveland area?
That's what I haven't had a chance to explore, and I was just getting ready to when this whole thing broke loose and shut everything down. I had made contact with a few comics out here before I moved. They added me to some pages to find gigs for local comics and things of that nature. So I was keeping up on where to go, and I was just getting ready to start investigating it, and this whole thing just happened and shut everything down.
So financially, it's probably hit your pocketbook. And even though you look like you're sitting on your pocketbook, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's starting to. I do have a day job. Comedy was not my only source of income. As you know, it's very difficult to make a living doing this.
Yes.
But my day job, I'm the manager for Napa Auto Parts. So we're still considered essential employees. But they've shut down a lot of things in our area, so our hours have been cut back. So my first check this Friday since I got my hours cut back will probably be about $400 less.
Wow.
For 2 weeks. Yeah. I'm going to be making about $800 a month less. But that's the beauty of it. With the cost of living what it is here, I can still afford to exist. California, I would have been screwed living out of my truck.
Yes.
So
I've talked to a lot of very depressed artists, not just comics. If you're in the art field, this is a very tough time for us who are sensitive artists. Do you want to talk about that? Surviving as an artist?
Oh, yeah. I was browsing through my feed and I saw like Johnny Flowers' page came up, says, hey, if this was your only source of income, what's your next move? And so many of them don't know what their next move is because this was their job.
That's right.
And that's why it's important to have a fallback profession. I mean, if you're somebody like, Craig Shoemaker or Fluffy, Gabriel Iglesias, those guys, they're well established long term. They've been doing this for a long, long time. You can get away with doing that. But if you haven't, I think you're kind of playing roulette. And this kind of, I think, kind of proves it a little bit for the rest of us that, have a day job. We're thankful we have it. But, I would love to do comedy full time. But I know what a racket it is, and I know how hard it is.
Yes.
I'm content with that I get to do gigs on a regular basis, at least before I moved, and get to make people laugh every time.
Yes.
If I can make a little money along the way, perfect. If I don't, hey, that's not my goal. My goal is to make people laugh. I know what it's like to need to be made, some kind of laughter in my day, so I want to share that whenever possible.
Absolutely. This is my only source of social life, and I live at a veterans hotel in Vegas, Veterans Village, and when I go out my door, it's all veterans out there and a few that are not veterans, but really mostly veterans. And I can tell them jokes and everything, but you guys are, you're my family, and I get to talk to you, and like when we get done, I know you better, and then I have to say goodbye to you, and during a scary time, it's really great, and it's sad saying goodbye to every one of you when we're done. A lot of emotions.
Yeah, but the nice thing is during a time like this, we have media like Facebook or Instagram, Snapchat, those kind of things where we can stay in touch. Video chat, we didn't have that option.
No.
In high school a couple years ago, he didn't want to move out here with me because he was afraid he wouldn't be able to keep in touch with all his friends. And I said, are you kidding me? you have so many more options to keep in touch than I ever had.
Yes.
So
one of the things that I got to think, my parents survived the Holocaust.
oh wow.
And one of the things that gets me through the darkest days, one day last week I lost 5 friends. And it got real, thank you. It got, because, you know, I know a lot of comics in New York.
Yeah.
And one of the things that helps me get through this is imagine if this was the Holocaust, you know, and we didn't have Facebook and Instagram. Like, you know, Anne Frank couldn't post what she was thinking every minute. She couldn't connect with anybody. So, yeah, that it gets me through the roughest times. Like, they had it so much worse before we had these connections on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very true.
So, what got you into comedy in the first place?
Well, 10 years ago, I got my start. My sister was actually one of the managers at John Lovitz's comedy club at Universal City Walk.
Wow.
And she was hooking me up with comp tickets to see different comedians. And that's where I first met Craig Shoemaker, Bruce Jingles, Steve Trevino. I got to see them before they had made it really, really big on TV or anything. Craig was the exception. He'd already been on Comic Relief and whatnot. But they were some of the nicest guys you could ever want to meet, and very helpful when it came to advice on how to do these things. Anyhow, she was always hooking me up, and I said, you know, I've been told since high school I should be doing this because I was always cracking jokes. And my sister said, well, we're going to start an open mic night. Why don't you come down and give it a shot? So I did. I brought a friend of mine down with me because I wasn't sure if my nerves were going to handle it. So I was drinking heavily. I'll admit it. Did my set, came off the stage, went into the green room, and the other comics were like, that was your first time? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, and you were hammered? I'm like, you've got to keep doing this.
Oh.
I did 2 more open mics, and I've been doing book shows ever since. It's a lot of fun. I really love it.
Wow. Well, I can tell from talking to you, and I've not heard you live. I can tell by talking to you, because I've watched a lot of people off and on the stage, that when you're on stage, you're relentless. I don't mean it in a bad way. You just swing for the fences.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Go big or go home.
There we are. And that's the difference between a good, you know, a great comic and an A-OK comic.
Well, I appreciate the compliment. I think I'm far from great, but I would love to be there one day.
Well, I can tell your confidence and your rhythm and your speech that you're hysterical and you just don't back down. You got something to say and they're going to listen, you know, and that's what it takes.
Yeah, that's very true. But along the way, working with guys like Bruce and Steve have been very, very instrumental. They've been mentors to me countless times, giving me advice. Sometimes when I didn't even ask for it, I get frustrated and think, oh, God, I had a bad set. And they'd come over and say, no, this is what you probably need to focus on more next time.
That's super. So that's
Bruce
Jingles and Steve who?
Trevino.
Wow. How lucky are you to have that?
Very lucky. I've also worked many times with Brian Monarch, Greg Wilson. Who else has been in there? My God, there's been a few. I've done a few shows with Chris D'Elia.
Wow.
Yeah,
I saw you on Harry Basil's page a minute ago.
Yeah. So I've been fortunate enough to share this day, and I did a couple of shows at the Brea Improv with Eliza Schlesinger too.
What?
As well, but she was still up and coming, as well as Brad Williams. Brad is a great too.
I love Brad.
Yeah, Brad's awesome.
Yes, he is.
You can get Brad on. Brad is awesome.
Yeah. So financially, you're not accepting any Cash App or PayPal donations, or you are?
I don't have a need to, so I haven't set anything up like that to do it. I would prefer if somebody's going to do that, give it to somebody who's really hurting for it. Because, like I said, I have a day job still.
Cool. And what did you say your day job was, or did you?
I'm in management for Napa Auto Parts.
Oh, yeah. So are they still sponsoring NASCAR?
Yeah, we still have our sponsorships with the NASCAR and whatnot, but there's just no races being run right now.
I'm a huge NASCAR fan, but I lost touch of all the sponsors.
Oh yeah, no, we still have it. We still have some merchandise in the store to sell too. So,
do you still deliver parts to car places?
Yeah, things have changed a little bit to where, I mean, obviously we're wearing gloves and masks, and we're not getting signatures from the different establishments. Like if we had to deliver to Firestone or any of those guys, we just set it down outside the bay. They grab it. We take a picture of it. We grab it, and they're gone. They grab it, and they're on their way.
So when people call up and they want to get a tranny change, do you tell them that you're not allowed to talk about trannies? It's not politically. I
tried that one. My boss wasn't too happy when he got the call. So, and so they say, hey, "Can you do it? Can you change a tranny for me?" And I'm like, "That's a little personal, don't you think?" My district boss happened to actually be in the store, and he popped out and he goes, "What the hell?" As soon as he goes, "What was that?" And I told him, he goes, "Not appropriate." It's all funny, but not appropriate.
Exactly.
He's got a good sense of humor. So
very nice. So what's the funniest thing you've seen happen in your comedy career?
Oh man. Funniest thing I've seen happen? Wow, that's a change there.
I'll give you a second if you want.
I think it was one of the nights I worked with Brad Williams at the Brea Improv, and he started closing out his shows by pulling up a beautiful young girl from the audience and giving her a lap dance from a midget. I got to see that before it really took off, and oh my God, it just blew my mind. I'm like, I cannot believe he's doing this. And the pop he got from the crowd was phenomenal.
Wow.
And then to see his 2 Showtime specials the last couple of years, and he did it on there, and I'm like, all right, this is going to be his act for a while.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. What's the favorite thing you've ever said on stage that even if once in a while it doesn't work, you refuse to take it out of your set? We all have them.
Well, yeah. I'm very critical when it comes to relationships and marriage and things like that. And I always find out, I do a quick poll a lot of times. I'll say, okay, how many people we got that are single? How many are in a relationship? And then I say, okay, to the guys, how many of you that are in a relationship, by sound of applause, how many of you think you take care of her physical needs? And as soon as they start applauding, and I'm like, lying bastards, stop. Prove you don't. How many of you guys, by sound of applause, know the difference between a golf ball and a G-spot? Always dead silence. And then I said, okay, break out the pad and pen. I'm going to give you a pearl of wisdom right here. I said, the difference is most of you self-absorbed cockroaches will look for the golf ball.
Oh my gosh.
And usually I hear the woo, and I'm like, yep, every one of them golfers look, see?
Wow.
But I say, guys, you're obviously missing the point. Look around. You don't hear any of the ladies arguing, do you? And they look around like, shit, he's right.
Have you ever gotten a golfer teed off?
Oh, yeah. I had one haggle me at the Ontario Improv about how I'm only picking on golf because I could never play it. And I said, it's not even a sport. It's a game of arrogance, you prick.
If you don't believe it.
George Carlin? Huh?
That's what I was going to say. George Carlin.
George Carlin. I said, George Carlin said it best. What do you pinheaded pricks need with all that land when the ball is that fucking big? You can't say it any better than George did. You know?
What was did you play a sport?
Baseball was my big thing, and then softball as I've gotten older.
What position did you play in baseball?
Well, when I was active playing all the time, I was first base, third base, and catcher.
Nice.
I could play all my own with anybody.
Wow. Was that high school or college ball?
I never actually played in high school. I played travel ball. So I was always playing every week, and I actually had a friend who had arranged a tryout for me with the San Francisco Giants.
What?
Yeah. And 4 weeks to the day before the tryout, I was playing in a softball tournament trying to keep my skills sharp and blew out my knee in the process.
Oh.
And I was doing too much weightlifting at the time. Back then, back when we were young, you and I were, in our teenage years, they used to preach more weight, more weight. Now it's more repetitions. Well, back then I had maxed out. I was pushing 650 pounds on the leg press.
What?
It was nothing. But, you see some of these guys in Major League Baseball hitting these majestic home run balls over the lights. That's what I was doing. Once I started pushing that kind of weight, I thought, wow, this is cool. But then when I blew out my knee, at that point, I was 21. I was already considered too old to look at anyway. They were just doing it as a favor to my friend. And when that happened, the scout told me, they says, you can rehab your knee all you want, but you're 1,000 to 1 long shot now.
Wow.
So then when they had that strike in 94, I tried out to be a replacement player, and I almost made it.
What? That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't regret it. It was fun. I missed out all the way to the last cut. I just didn't spend enough time getting used to 90-mile-an-hour pitching. So.
Now, 90-mile-an-hour pitching is fast?
Oh, yeah. Some of your better pitchers can average between 92 and 98 miles an hour on a consistent basis. There are a few that can top over 100 miles an hour.
Whoa.
Yeah. The Yankees closer, Aroldis Chapman, is a prime example of it. He can hit 100 miles an hour. Good
Lord.
That hard is one thing, but to be able to control where you want it to go, I think is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
And he's a left-handed pitcher. I'm a left-handed hitter. I would want to step in against him.
Imagine getting hit by one of those. Holy toy.
Yeah, you get hit by one of those, it's going to bruise completely to the bone.
In high school, I went to a church because my mother was Christian and my dad was Jewish. So I tried to please them both by bouncing around. I went to this church and they had a baseball team and they needed someone to keep score. I know so much about baseball that other girls don't know. I think I'm a real catch.
That's good. A lot of people don't keep score. They don't know the stats. They don't know the different what the different symbols mean in the scorebook.
I have a baseball question for you. Sorry. I have a baseball question for you.
Okay.
It's not trivia. I mean, I really want to know.
All right.
At what point did they quit keeping track of runs, hits, and errors? They keep track of runs, but not hits, not errors anymore.
No, they do. They do still keep track of it.
Do they?
If you watch any game that's televised, you look down the lower right-hand corner of the screen, you'll see the two team names. It'll say runs, R, H, and E. They do still keep track.
Oh, I'm looking for it up too high, I guess.
Yeah, it's down in the lower right-hand corner usually. It's either in one of the lower right or the upper right corners, depending on which network you're using. Like I know the Yankees network and the Boston Red Sox one tend to put it up in the upper right-hand corner. The Indians, the Orioles, Angels, Dodgers, they tend to put it down in the lower right-hand corner.
Okay.
So the team.
In the scheme of things in the world, who was your favorite baseball player or is and why?
Jim Thome, former Cleveland Indian. He was elected to the Hall of Fame last year.
Okay.
Years, I think. But he came up about the time when I was trying to get back in shape for the tryout with the strike team when the strike happened. And he and I had a lot of similarities. We both threw right-handed. We batted left-handed, played third base, first base, although he really didn't play first base until later in his career. But we had a lot of similarities. And we were naturally strong. We didn't do steroids or anything like that, like some guys have done over the years. And we just had we had the same great love for the game of baseball. We could go out and play anywhere, even on the street. We didn't care.
Wow. My second to the last question is, why do they equate first base, second base, third base, home run with sex?
I'm not entirely sure. I've never understood that one either.
I know.
Like the whole concept of it's okay and acceptable for guys to go out and sleep with 100 girls, but if a girl does it with 100 guys, she's a whore.
Yeah.
Wow, I've never understood that.
Never. Okay, my last question, Drew. What do you have to say to people how they can hang on during right now? What's the best advice you as a human comic? I imagine this is making you more in touch with being a human. What can you say you've learned, or what can they do differently that you'd like to save?
During this whole mess, it's really forced me to focus on more of what I can do for other people, what I can do to control my own environment. There's some things you can control and the rest of it you can't. You just got to let it play out. I know that probably sounds cliche to some people, but it's true. You can only control what you can control. So control what's going on in your world, help out people where you can, and just step back and let the plan unfold and see what happens. That's really about all I can think to do.
I love that. I'm going to let you go because T-Mobile wants me to keep these to 15 minutes, or they're going to charge me to go over megabytes or hergabytes. I don't know.
I got you.
You've been so awesome, and I'm so glad I had this chance to get to know you. It's always sad to say goodbye, but I love you, and I've gotten to know you. And you guys, do you have anything on iTunes, Spotify, on YouTube that they can watch? Subscribe?
No, I've never published anything. I've got videos that are private, but I can send links if anybody would like to see them.
Get a hold of Drew Yerkish. Do you see how great he is? Book him, ask him to send you videos. He'll do it, you guys. Let's give each other a hand up. Quit with the nonsense and help each other.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Drew.
Thank you, Linda. Take care. Be safe.
Okay, love you. You too.